bookish besties, and welcome or welcome back to my channel. It's been a little while. I took a little break for my mental health and to try to get some creativity flowing and try to relax a little bit so that creativity flows a little bit easier. But I'm back now for the holiday season. I have my Christmas tree up. My entire house is decorated for Christmas and I am in my glory because I am obsessed with the Christmas time. Let's get into today's video. So in today's video, I am going to be reading and ranking different romance tropes. I'm going to explain to you how I'm going to be doing this. So in a few minutes, I'll be introducing the TBR and talking you through the main two tropes of each book. And then when I read that book, I'm going to be picking between the two main tropes, which one I like better. And then at the end, after I read all of the books, I'm going to be ranking the tropes in order from my most favorite to my least favorite. I thought this would be fun because this is a way to like incorporate different kinds of romances in my videos, and it's also a way to incorporate some holiday romance reads as well without being just like a sit down TBR video or just a simple reading holiday romances. I feel like I don't know what tropes I really look for in books, so it's going to be really helpful for me to understand what I like more in books and to help me pick out better reads for myself. So let's go through the TBR for this video. I'm not going to be reading all of these books. I'm just creating a list of books to choose from because obviously you all know I'm a mood reader. There are about 7 on this list that I've been looking at / in the mood for recently. So let me go through those now. The first one that I'm definitely going to be reading because I already started it is Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren. I am only like 15 pages into this book. This is actually my book club pick for a small book club that I have going at work. I'm really excited to be reading it with some of the girls that I work with. This will be my 3rd Christina Lauren book. I read The Unhoneymooners and The Honeymoon Crashers. Didn't love The Unhoneymooners, but I did love The Honeymoon Crashers. But these tropes, I think I'm really going to enjoy. It is second chance and childhood friends to lovers. Another like micro trope that I've seen in this, which I really love, is like when the main characters like books. So it's like a book about books. So I'm already obsessed with that and I'm obsessed with the cover. I'm very excited for this. This one's dual timeline and I'm already loving it so far. The second one is a book that I've been seeing on Bookstagram. It is a hockey romance and I'm really excited to read it. It's called Oh Goalie Night. So it is a hockey Christmas romance novel. I am obsessed with goalies. Those of you who watched my videos before, you know I'm obsessed with goalies. So I'm really excited for this one. The two main tropes in this one are sports romance, obviously it's a hockey romance novel, and brother's best friend, which I think I'm really going to enjoy because when like watching movies or reading anything, I always love that vibe where it's like I always like when it's the older brother brings around his friends and him and the younger sister have this like forbidden chemistry. I really love that. So I think I'm really gonna like that one if I do wind up reading it. It is on Kindle Unlimited. A second hockey romance that is on my November TBR is Behind the Net by Stephanie Archer. Two main tropes in that are Grumpy Sunshine and Boss / Employee. I already know that I like Grumpy Sunshine, but I want to see how it's done in this. And then I don't think I've read a boss employee romance before, not specifically. So I'm excited to see how that works. And it's not like your typical situation. She is the assistant to the goalie. Again, another goalie book. But yes, she is the assistant to the goalie and I'm kind of excited to see how that dynamic plays out. Then one that is so Christmassy and I've been seeing everywhere is How My Neighbor Stole Christmas. Now, this cover is just adorable and it's giving me like all the Grinch vibes. And Grinch is my favorite holiday character. This one just has one true main trope, and that's enemies to lovers. And obviously I love a good enemies to lovers. Normally I read enemies to lovers in fantasy romance or romantasy, but I'm excited to see it in a more contemporary setting, which I have read before, but I'm also excited to see it in like a Christmas contemporary romance setting, so I'm very excited for that one. I think I'm definitely going to be reading that one. Then I took a look at the 5 or 6 Christmas novellas that came out from a lot of popular romance authors, and those are all on Kindle Unlimited and Audible for free, and you can listen through Kindle Unlimited for free, so I'm very excited. And I'm hoping to get all these done because they're only around 50 to 80 pages long, each of them. So I'm hoping I can get almost all of the ones on my list read. I only picked my 3 favorite because the other ones didn't have defined tropes and they weren't really ones that I was interested in reading. First one is Cruel Winter with You by Ali Hazelwood, which she's one of my favorite authors ever. I'm excited to see how she does a Christmas specific novella because I've read some of her other novellas before and they haven't been my favorite, but I have hopes for this one. It sounded really good. The main tropes in this are billionaire, which I'm excited because I don't think I've read anything where the guy is like super rich and is a billionaire or millionaire. It's also a best friend's brother, so I'm excited to see how that dynamic plays out. Again, that kind of is the same thing or very similar to Brother's Best Friend, so I'm really excited to see how Ali Hazelwood does this because I don't think she's ever done this one before. So I'm excited for that. Then we have Merry Ever After by Tessa Bailey. And you guys know that Tessa Bailey is not my favorite, but for some reason I can't stop picking up the things that she puts out, and I don't know why. I need to see if I'm going to like it. I keep giving her the second, third, fourth, fifth chances, and I'm still disappointed, but I'm hoping that one day it'll finally stick. So this one is Merry Ever After, and the tropes are single mom and small town / small town farmer. So I'm excited for this one. I either haven't read anything or haven't read much of anything that's single mom or single parent in general, so I'm very excited for that. I want to see if in the novella a child actually like has a role or if it's just the lifestyle of the mother. And I also love a small town romance, especially with the farmer. I really loved it in the Pumpkin Spice Cafe. That was such an amazing book. I had a great time with that. Then we have All by My Elf by Olivia Dade. Now, I've heard really good things about Olivia Dade's books, but I haven't read anything from her. So again, very excited for this one. The two main tropes are coworkers, which again, I was talking about like boss employee. The coworkers trope has a little bit different of a vibe to it than boss / employee. So I'm excited to see this one. Then it's also forced proximity, which is one of my favorite tropes. I think the first thing I ever read that was true forced proximity was House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas, where Hunt was assigned to Bryce and they had forced proximity, and that has forever become one of my favorite tropes. So I'm really excited to see how all of these play out. I know what I like in books, but sometimes it's hard for me to pin down tropes, and I'm really excited to get to explore that more, especially with you guys, and to do it in a fun, mostly Christmassy way. So like I said, as I read these books, I'll be picking which trope I like best from the book, and then at the end we'll be ranking all the tropes that I just stated in the beginning of this video that are included in these books, and we'll see what my favorite trope is and what my least favorite trope is. This book is so good so far. I'm already obsessed with our main character, Macy, and I've already highlighted some things, and I think the dad in this is going to be the sweetest little bean ever. My plans for the rest of the night are to eat dinner, maybe make a coffee, and if I do make a coffee, I'll take you along on that journey with me. While my husband and I eat dinner, we're going to be watching the Critical Role episode 0 for their Christmas episode that they're going to be having live in New Jersey, which is so close to us, but we're going to be watching that, watch them make their characters, and have a little bit of fun, and then I'm going to be reading some of this. I might read some before dinner. I haven't decided yet, just depends on how I'm feeling. I'm gonna go read for a little bit, and I will talk to you guys when I have an update. Coffee. I'm in my Christmas PJs. No, they're not matching. because I'm a psychopath. You watched me make my caramel protein coffee. I added a little bit of the sugar-free caramel sauce to see how it tastes. So let's see if we like this. I hope we do. Okay, that's actually so good. Maybe a little bit too much of the protein shake. Not enough coffee. I'm ready to get back into Love and Other Words. I'm on page 107 and I'm already getting 5-star feelings from this. Last time I talked to you, I hadn't started this at all. Maybe I was a few pages in, I don't remember. I am adoring this. I get the 5-star tinglies, and that's really surprising because, like I said, or maybe I didn't say, I read The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren and I did not like it. But I think that was simply because it was the cheating trope. Like, some of these quotes make me want to cry. I've almost cried probably 5 or 6 times now, and like I said, I'm only 100 pages into this book, so I do fear this may possibly be the death of me. First, let me tell you what this is about. This is about Macy and Elliot. Something tragic happens to Macy when she's young, and that kind of changes the way she views relationships and the amount of herself that she gives to others. So she's very reserved, and her father get a weekend house, and she meets Elliot, her next door neighbor, and they quickly bond over books, which I'm adoring. Elliot is like the perfect nerdy, scrawny, intelligent guy that we all love. So they're about 14/15 when they are in the then of the dual timeline. The now of the dual timeline, they haven't seen each other for 10 years. Macy is a resident and Elliot is writing a book. So they run into each other after like 10 or 11 years of not talking, and now they're trying to figure out how to have a relationship again together after missing so much of each other's lives, which we don't know why yet. All of these quotes have just been hitting home, and it's such meaningful writing, and sometimes I feel like I don't come across that often. And also, if you like He Falls First, kind of, but He Falls Harder, definitely, then you will be obsessing and gushing over this man because he falls so hard for her and he loves her so much. It's just so sweet. And I like that they both find solace and sanctuary in her little library closet room. I think that, again, us as readers can relate to that. I just want to read you 1 or 2 quotes because I am not a huge quote girly. I do highlight often, but this is like something that I went on Fable, and like you can enter like a quote, and I went on and quoted it so I can remember it. But it says, "I think of her everywhere. She is everywhere in every moment. Also, she's in no one moment. She misses every single one of my moments, and I'm not sure who that's harder for. Me surviving here without her, or her without me, existing wherever she is." And then this one's so sweet. "And because when I find that book that makes me lose myself for just 1 hour, maybe more, I forget. And because my dad thinks of mom every time he buys me a book. And because you're here and I feel about 1,000 times less lonely with you." And like, it's so sad. I can't. I just like want to hug these characters. But I'm gonna continue reading. Hi friends, it's been a few days and I have a ton of book updates. I've been reading non-stop the past couple of days. I don't remember when the last time we talked was. I know I was part of the way through Love and Other Words, and now I have finished it. I finished Love and Other Words and I loved this. I got through it in like 2-3 days. I think it's one of my new favorite books of all time. I rated it a 4.75. So like I said, I'm going to be picking 1 trope from each book that I love, and this one was Second Chance Romance and Childhood Friends to Lovers. I am gonna choose Childhood Friends to Lovers. I think it's so special when you can think back and you have like such a strong bond with somebody because you've been through like all of your growing stages and they knew you when you were little. And I think that's just such a special bond that you can't like recreate. The second chance romance in a book normally means that one of them screwed up, and normally screwing up is some form of like cheating or some other thing like that, and I hate that. So I really did not like the second chance in this. That's why I gave it 4.75. I think that it would have had 5 stars if the conflict between the 2 main characters wasn't what it was. I still really loved it, so I am gonna pick Childhood Best Friends to Lovers, and Second Chance Romance is probably gonna be lower on my final ranking list because, like I said, it means that one of the characters has to screw up in some sort of way normally, and I don't like that bond that they have and then that time apart that they spend. Then I went on a complete reading binge this weekend, and I accidentally read all 5 of the little new Christmas novellas by like Ali Hazelwood, Olivia Dade. So I'm gonna give you my thoughts and ratings on those, as well as pick the trope that I like the most from those. First one I read was Cruel Winter by Ali Hazelwood, and that is one of my new favorite probably books, novellas ever. I think that she did a phenomenal job with the writing and the storyline and the pacing in only like a 70-80 page book. And this one was, this girl gets stuck at her best friend's brother's family home, but her best friend's on vacation, and they reconnect after something happened, kind of, and he's a billionaire. So the two tropes were billionaire and best friend's brother. I think I'm gonna pick best friend's brother for this because the billionaire wasn't too prominent, but I see where people could like that because like he wants to give her the world and like that kind of pampering that comes with billionaire romance. I really enjoyed the best friend's brother because it went back to when they were younger and like seeing them grow up together and like him being in love with her the entire time, and then them like coming together in the end and like having that super special, like it's almost like childhood friends to lovers, but like I like that there's that like, oh, this is my best friend's brother, so he's kind of just like around, and like him like being in love with her when he was little, and like just all of that. It like makes me so happy. I think it's adorable. And like the fact that he was down bad for her for years, I wanted that story to keep going on, and I highlighted so much in that story. There were so many good quotes. I was basically crying the entire time. That was a phenomenal story. I gave that one a 4.5 stars. And like I said, I would choose the best friend's brother. So the next one I read was All by My Elf by Olivia Dade. And I've never read anything by her before, but I know she does like plus size FMCs, which I enjoy. And I enjoyed this one a little bit. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. I didn't think it was the best thing ever, especially not after I read the Ali Hazelwood one. But this one is like, there's 2 like professors that are doing like this seasonal work together for Mrs. Claus's mincemeat, and they're in like a hot dog mobile, and it was just like quirky from the start, which I didn't like love necessarily. So they get stuck in a snowstorm in this mince mobile. They like have to figure out their feelings for each other. So it was forced proximity and coworkers. And I don't find any like enjoyment in coworkers. Maybe if there was like a little more tropiness to it, like they worked in an office and they were like leaving things for each other and like flirting and doing all of that. But this one, I just didn't, it didn't like work for me. Forced proximity is the other trope, and I really like the forced proximity because it like pushed them together, made them snuggle, made them have to like figure out their feelings quickly. So I enjoy forced proximity because it kind of like pushes the story. It gives the story that extra speed that it needs to move along. So I really enjoyed that. That one I gave a 2.5 because I thought it was really cringy, and I thought the main characters were extremely cringy, and the things they were saying to each other were giving me the ick, so I give that one a 2.5 stars. Then I read Marry Ever After by Tessa Bailey, and this is about a woman that's a single mother in a small town that she moves to, and the farmer has an interest in her, and she works at a thrift shop, and she likes to make clothes, and he's like this big dude, so she offers to make jeans for him because nothing fits him. Their relationship like speedballs from there. Obviously it has to be like a really quick, fast, instant love story because it's a novella. It was like 50 pages. But I really enjoyed it. The 2 tropes in this one were single mom and small town. And now I love a small town romance, but this one didn't have a lot of the elements that I love of a small town romance because it was a novella. So I'm picking the single mom in this because I think the way that the male main character cared about her son so much, and the fact that like he took him in as his own son and then they formed a little family from that, I think that makes my heart melt when men are like really lovey to children in general, and when they're really lovey to children that are not their own. I think that's so sweet, and that gets me. That one wins out for this story. I gave this one a 4 stars. I enjoyed it so much more than I thought I was going to because for those of you that watch my channel, you know I don't love Tessa Bailey, but I just thought she did really well with this one. It was very spicy right off the bat, but I still think there was that level of like caring and sweetness in it that made me think that like he didn't just want her to have sex with her. So it was very nice. I liked that one a lot. Then these are two that I didn't plan on reading, but I was flying through them and I was just like loving them. So I read Merriment and Mayhem by Alexandria Bellefleur, I think is how you pronounce her name. Now, she wrote Truly Madly Deeply and I didn't know that. So I'm looking into that one now because this one was phenomenal. I adored this one. I actually might give it a higher star rating than I did because I really liked it. I think the resolution to the story I just didn't love, and that's why I gave it a 4 stars instead of like a 4.5, 4.75. This was about a girl who was trying to like sell her grandmother's house because she recently passed away, and she was trying to keep up all her grandmother's family traditions that she would do, and she almost burned down the house. So that's, the fire department was called first for that. Then something else happened like a couple days later and the fire department had to be called for that as well. And this one firefighter on the squad, he was like just flirting with her and like telling her that like fate is bringing them together and all this stuff, and like they were just, I loved him. He was just adorable. I just really liked the way the story was written. It was very sentimental but goofy at the same time, and I really liked both of the main characters. So I did give this one a 4 stars as I mentioned, but I really might rate it something a little more. I don't know. Normally I don't like stories with firefighters in them, but this one was so good. I thought he was so sweet. For this one, I'm just choosing the trope of like firefighters slash like men in uniforms, I guess, which is like kind of a trope, I guess. But that's the one I'm like choosing to rank in this video. Then I finally read Only Santa's in the Building by Alexis, Daria, and this one was adorable. I liked the prospect of this, and I liked that the female main character was a comic book illustrator. I think that was very unique. And she basically just has a crush on her neighbor. He starts like leaving her little ornaments because he comes into her apartment and sees that her Christmas tree isn't decorated. This one also deals with grief. Her grandmother also died not that long ago, so she's trying to keep her spirits up while also meeting deadlines. They both go to a Santa-themed party, and their relationship goes from there. This one I'd say is like the neighbor's trope, girl next door kind of vibe, where he's like trying to catch her attention and she's kind of like elusive and not paying attention, and they're kind of like, you know, that close distance where they can just run into each other over and over and over again. So I really enjoyed that. I think I'm choosing that trope for this one. The only other one I can see is miscommunication, and I hate miscommunication, so we're not even going to talk about that because there was miscommunication in this and I didn't like it. I gave it a 3.5 stars. So overall, a really good reading experience this weekend. I read all of those within 24 hours. And I was so happy. I was just like living my best life. So let's go over some of the tropes that we have so far. I'm planning on finishing probably one more book. So far we have childhood friends to lovers, best friend's brother, kind of childhood friends to lovers-esque, single mom. I've already started another book, which this one is on my November TBR, and that is Behind the Net by Stephanie Archer. And I'm really enjoying this one so far. This one is between an NHL goalie that needs to move back to Vancouver for his mom and this girl, Pippa, that needs an assistant job to work her way into like the sports management slash marketing department. When she accepts the job, she knows that this is like the cool hockey guy from high school, but we get dual point of view in this, which I am obsessed with because I love when like the man is like super cold and like cut off on the outside, but then in his head he's like freaking out over the main girl. I like love that dichotomy of seeing that. And it's been a little bit, but I finished Behind the Net by Stephanie Archer. So I'm going to give you my final thoughts on this, my rating. I'm going to pick the trope that I liked best from this book. Then we're going to be ranking all of the tropes that I read, and wrapping up the end of the video. Overall, this is a very good book. We follow Pippa and Jamie. They knew each other in high school, but didn't really know each other, and then all of a sudden she shows up on his doorstep and she becomes his live-in assistant, and he helps her navigate through her traumas with her ex, as well as gain her confidence back in the music industry and in her overall career goal because her ex ruined it. And then she helps him navigate his balance in life, balancing hockey, his mom, his relationships, and she teaches him to care for himself and worry about himself and not just worry about others. So I really enjoyed this book. The spice was a little too much for me. It was a very lovely slow burn, but then once we got the spice, it like didn't stop. I'm not one to skim books, but I did find myself skimming the end of this because it was literally every other chapter was spiced, so I was only skimming the spice scenes. And I thought this could have been like maybe 100 pages less than it was, so I thought that the end was a little bit too drawn out. But other than that, I really enjoyed it. Overall, I gave it a 4 stars. I would pick the grumpy sunshine trope from this one because he was the grumpy and she was the sunshine. And it was like the perfect mix, and I like that we got dual POV, and I feel like that's the only way that grumpy sunshine works, because we get to see that like on the outside he's grumpy, but on the inside he's like falling for her, and that he truly is not trying to be grumpy, or that he is grumpy and it's just an act. So just a reminder, all of the tropes that were in the books that I read that I picked. So for Love and Other Words, I picked Childhood Friends to Lovers. In Behind the Net, I picked Grumpy and Sunshine. From Cruel Winter with You, I picked Best Friend's Brother / like childhood friends to lovers, kind of. Merry Ever After, I picked Single Mom. All by My Elf, I picked Forced Proximity. Merriment and Mayhem was Firefighter / like for men in uniform. And then Only Santa's in the Building was Neighbors. Out of those tropes, I'm going to be ranking them from my least favorite to my most favorite. I feel like this actually helped me learn a lot about what I like in specifically romance books and what tropes that I kind of am looking for. I definitely found out that I like more of a deep connection and when the characters really know each other and like take the time to learn and understand each other. And that instant attraction definitely is not my forte. I will be starting with number 7, which is my least favorite trope. That would be the neighbors trope, which I feel like maybe isn't used too much, but it kind of is because I've seen it a lot where like, oh, they're next door neighbors, or like the girl next door. Like that's kind of the vibe that I'm getting from that, where like you see them in passing and you interact with them a lot, but you don't really like know them. So I didn't really love it because, again, it felt very like surface level attraction and more of like, oh, I like the way that I imagine them instead of liking the way that they actually are. Number 6 would be like firefighter, men in uniform type trope. I didn't love it. It wasn't head over heels. I liked it in this one, which was Merriment and Mayhem, because he was just super goofy and was saving her from silly scenarios. But then I also feel like that could be not a vibe of like Stockholm syndrome, but it could be like a vibe of like a savior complex, and then you only falling for them because they helped you in tough situations. But again, that could just be a testament to their character. But I didn't love this one. I wouldn't pick a book because it has this trope in it. I know some people really like the idea of like a man or woman in uniform, but that's just not my vibe. Number 5 is Forced Proximity. I hated it in the book that I read because I didn't like the book, which was All by My Elf. I just hated that they were 1 in elf costumes and 2 in like a weenie mobile, I guess. I didn't hate how Forced Proximity was necessarily used because it was used to have them admit their feelings that they've had for each other, but didn't want to admit. So I enjoyed it in that aspect, but I think there are better ways to do it. So that's why this one's not too low on the list, because I know that it's been done better. Even in Crescent City, I liked when Hunt and Bryce were forced proximity because he was sent to like look over her. So I think I like it in more of a bodyguard, or they are forced to live together, or something brings them together where they have to be around each other all the time. So number 4, I picked Single Mom. I like this one because it gives me that feeling of found family, because it's not necessarily your child that you're falling in love with. So it could be single mom, single dad, just a single parent in general. But I love the idea of like another human being loving someone so much that they love the little tiny human that they made when it's not even their child. Like, I just find that so endearing. And like when they take the child into consideration for everything, I think that's so sweet. I think that is like genuine love and caring for somebody, and I think it makes that person feel so loved, because sometimes single parents can feel like they're a little bit outcasted from other single people because they have a child that they have to look after 24/7, obviously. So it just makes my heart so warm and cuddly, and I love it so much. Number 3 would be Grumpy Sunshine. I like it because it creates a dynamic between the characters that normally creates good banter, and I really like that. I also love when a man is outwardly grumpy and then we see his inside thoughts, and he's like a sweetheart, and he's a sweetheart for her, and he may be grumpy on the outside, but he's like a little marshmallow on the inside. So I love that. I also like when the girl is the grumpy one because I think it's just so different. Number 2 is Best Friend's Brother, and this also kind of falls into childhood friends to lovers a little bit, because when you're going over for a sleepover to your best friend's house, like you see this in movies all the time, and you know, you're getting all dolled up because her brother's gonna be home, and you get like a glimpse of him and he's in his room, and it's just like got that nostalgic feeling of like basically like a 2000s rom-com is what I'm thinking of, and that makes me so happy. And I also love that he, whether he's older or younger, gets to see her grow up, and she also gets to see him grow up, and they're like going through the stages of like life together, and they're like seeing each other date other people and having this banter. And again, that brings me back to like, I love when the characters know each other from like the core, and when they know everything about each other, because they're obviously growing up together, learning all these things about each other. And I also like the little bit of like forbidden romance type thing in that, because it's like, no, you're my best friend's brother, I can't be with you, like I can't do that to her. But then it also gives the aspect of like, oh my god, it could be my best friend's sister, like if I marry her brother. And then ranking in at number 1, we have Childhood Friends to Lovers. Again, I love when they know everything about each other, and when you see somebody through like the elementary years, the middle school years, the high school years, the college years, you just know that person because they were discovering themselves along with while you were discovering yourself, and you just know all of their specific interests, hobbies, favorite foods, all of this stuff. You just know every single thing about them. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please let me know in the comments what your favorite tropes are and what book made you fall in love with them, or just give a bunch of recommendations of books that have your favorite tropes in them. If you want to let me know that you watched all the way through and just let me know that you were here, you can leave pink heart emoji, anyone, in the comment. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for future content. But I'm so grateful that you're all here. Happy reading, and as always, love you, bye!